You know that sick, heavy feeling when someone suddenly changes toward you? Yesterday they were laughing at your jokes, texting you first, inviting you out. Today, cold replies, distant energy, or worse, silence. Your brain immediately panics. What did I do? What did I say? Did I miss something? You replay every conversation, every message, searching for the moment everything snapped. Sometimes there is a clear event. Other times, nothing obvious happened. And that's what makes it so unsettling. It feels personal, like a quiet verdict. You are no longer wanted. But here's the uncomfortable truth. When people suddenly turn against you, it's almost never as sudden as it looks. It's usually the final visible drop in a bucket that's been filling for a while, often in ways no one ever talked about. In this video, we're going to decode that hidden process, so you stop blaming yourself blindly and start seeing what's really going on. In the next 15 minutes, we're going to break down why people seem to flip on you out of nowhere. Friends, coworkers, family, romantic interests, even whole groups. This isn't about blaming others or shaming yourself. It's about understanding the psychology, the unspoken rules, and the patterns that most people never notice until it's too late. We'll talk about hidden expectations, social anxiety, envy, boundaries, miscommunication, and how other people's unresolved issues get quietly projected onto you. You'll learn to recognize early warning signs so you're not blindsided by sudden coldness or betrayal. More importantly, we'll look at what you can do about it, how to respond calmly instead of desperately chasing people, how to protect your self-worth, and how to build relationships where problems are talked about before they explode. If you've ever thought, everyone leaves eventually, stay with me. That feeling has reasons, and many of them aren't actually your fault. Let's start with one of the most common invisible causes, unspoken expectations. Every relationship, friendship, work, dating, runs on hundreds of tiny assumptions most people never say out loud. I always text first, so you should reply fast. I did this favor, so you should do that for me. If you care, you'll just know what I need. None of that is agreed upon, yet people treat it like a silent contract. Over time, these expectations stack up. The moment you unknowingly break one, by being busy, distracted, honest, or just different from their fantasy, you violated a rule you didn't know existed. They feel hurt or disrespected, but instead of telling you, they quietly start pulling away, building a case against you in their mind. When they finally turn cold or explode, it feels sudden to you, but to them it feels overdue. Understanding this gap is the first step in stopping the sudden part. Another huge reason people turn against you. They built a version of you in their head that you couldn't realistically maintain. Maybe you were always available, always listening, always saying yes. Or you were fun, chill, never upset, never needing anything. That version of you wasn't a full human being. It was a role. When you start changing, growing, setting boundaries, or even just having a bad week, you break that imaginary character. And people who were attached to the role, not the real you, feel betrayed. They might say, "You've changed," when actually you've just become more honest. Or they accuse you of being selfish now that you're not overgiving. To them, you stopped playing the part that kept them comfortable. Their sudden coldness is often a reaction to losing control over you. They can't shape you into what they want anymore, so instead of adjusting, they withdraw or turn against you to punish your independence. Sometimes people don't turn against you because of what you did, but because of what you represent to them. This is where projection and unresolved wounds come in. Maybe your confidence reminds them of a time they were humiliated. Your success triggers their fear of failure. Your emotional honesty confronts their habit of avoiding feelings. Without realizing it, they attach their old pain to you. So when you set a boundary, they react as if you're their critical parent. When you say no, they feel abandoned like they did as a child. When you say, "I need some space," they relive every rejection they've ever experienced. Instead of recognizing, This is my old wound flaring up. It becomes, you're the problem. Turning against you is easier than facing themselves. This is why some of the most intense reactions come from people who barely know you. They're not fighting you, they're fighting their past, using you as the screen. Envy is one of the quietest, most denied reasons people flip on you. Few will admit, even to themselves, I'm jealous. Instead, it shows up as criticism, distance, or sudden dislike once you start doing better. You get a promotion, a new relationship, move forward with your goals, and people who once felt equal to you begin to feel small in comparison. If they measure their worth by being better than others, your growth feels like a personal attack. Instead of saying, I feel insecure, their mind looks for reasons you don't deserve what you have. They may start nitpicking, dismissing your achievements, gossiping, or minimizing your struggles. Must be nice. You've changed. You think you're better now. Over time, that resentment builds until they quietly step back or flip. Their turning against you is really them trying to escape the uncomfortable mirror your success holds up to their unrealized potential. Ironically, one of the fastest ways to make people turn against you is to have weak or inconsistent boundaries. When you overgive, overshare, or constantly say yes, you create an unrealistic baseline of what others can expect from you. At first, people are grateful, then they become used to it. Eventually, some start feeling entitled to it. The day you finally say, I can't, it doesn't feel like a normal no. It feels like a loss. In their story, you changed, became cold, distant, or selfish. In reality, you're simply correcting a relationship that was lopsided from the beginning. This is why people sometimes turn against you right when you start getting healthier. You disrupt a comfortable imbalance. Those who valued you for your compliance, not your character, will often react the most strongly. Your job is not to keep playing the overgiver just to keep people happy. Your job is to learn that pushback is often proof your new boundaries are working. Not everyone who turns against you is malicious. Some are simply conflict avoidant. They feel hurt, disappointed, or confused, but the idea of talking about it directly terrifies them. So instead of saying, hey, that comment stung, or I felt left out, they ghost, pull away, or become passive aggressive. They vent to others, replay the issue in their heads, and slowly turn you into a villain, without ever giving you a real chance to fix things. To them, disappearing or going cold feels safer than being vulnerable. To you, it feels like a sudden, unexplained rejection. This doesn't mean you're always innocent. Sometimes you really did mess up. But in healthy dynamics, people bring concerns to you. In fragile dynamics, they bring concerns to everyone but you. Learning to spot conflict avoidant patterns helps you stop chasing explanations from people who were never going to give you one in the first place. Group dynamics can turn people against you even when they personally like you. Humans are wired to protect their position in the tribe. If the group's mood shifts against you because of a rumor, misunderstanding, or one loud critic, others may distance themselves just to stay safe. They think, I don't want to be the next target, so they nod along, stay silent, or quietly step back. It's less about what they believe, more about not wanting to lose belonging. This is why someone can be warm one-on-one but strangely cold around others. They're managing their social image. Sometimes a single influential person, charismatic, angry, or insecure, can poison an entire circle's perception of you. People who never had an issue suddenly act like they do. Understanding this hurts, but it's powerful. Not every shift is about your character. Often it's about social survival, fear, and the pressure to conform to the group narrative. Sometimes people don't turn against who you are, they turn against who you're becoming. When you grow, it disrupts the old comfort zone you shared with them. If you start healing, going to therapy, changing habits, pursuing goals, or raising your standards, you implicitly question their choice to stay the same. Not with your words, but with your life. Some will be inspired and grow with you. Others will feel threatened, judged, or left behind. Instead of saying, I'm scared I'll lose you, they may criticize your new interests, mock your boundaries, or accuse you of thinking you're better. They're really fighting to keep the old version of you, the one who didn't challenge their comfort. Your evolution forces people to choose, adapt, cheer you on, or distance themselves. Those who turn against you during your growth are revealing the real condition that love or friendship was based on. You're staying small enough not to disturb them. We also need to talk about your side of the pattern because self-awareness is power. Sometimes people turn against you for reasons you genuinely can influence. Maybe you joke in ways that sting more than you realize. Maybe you disappear when you're stressed and don't communicate. Maybe you unknowingly interrupt, dominate conversations, or vent, but never listen. This doesn't make you a villain, it makes you human. But if you never reflect on your patterns, every rejection feels purely mysterious and unfair. A useful question isn't what's wrong with me, but what do people consistently experience around me? Are there repeated themes in feedback even if it's poorly delivered? You don't listen, you shut down, you overreact. Owning your impact doesn't mean accepting abuse or begging for forgiveness. It means being honest enough to say, if I'm the common denominator sometimes, I want to know so I can grow and choose better dynamics too. When someone turns against you, your nervous system often goes into panic mode. You obsess, over-explain, send long messages, beg for clarity, or try to fix everything immediately. But over-pursuing someone who's already decided to pull away usually backfires. It confirms their story that you're needy, guilty, or too much, even when you're just scared. A more powerful approach is regulated curiosity. Instead of, what's wrong with me? Ask, what's actually happening here? Then, 1. Pause. Give the situation space before reacting. 2. Check the facts. Did they communicate anything clear? Or is this all guesswork? 3. If appropriate, ask once, calmly, I'm sensing some distance. Did I do something that bothered you? 4. If they dodge, blame, or refuse to talk, you have your answer. You deserve relationships where issues can be talked through, not punished with silent treatment. Protect your dignity by matching their effort, not their emotional chaos. Here's the hardest truth. Sometimes people turn against you because the relationship has reached its natural limit. Your values diverge, your priorities shift, or it was never as mutual as you hoped. In those cases, closure doesn't come from them. It comes from you deciding what story you will tell yourself about what happened. You can tell the story, I'm unlovable, people always leave. That will carve deeper insecurity into your brain. Or you can tell the story, some connections are seasonal. I can grieve them and still trust that I'm worthy of people who stay and communicate. You don't have to turn against yourself just because someone else turned against you. Your value does not get rewritten every time someone walks away. The goal isn't to never lose anyone. The goal is to become the kind of person who can handle loss without abandoning your own heart in the process. Let's pull this together into a few key takeaways. First, sudden shifts are rarely truly sudden. They're the visible result of silent expectations, unspoken resentments, insecurities, and group pressures building over time. Second, people often turn against the version of you in their head, not the full you in real life, especially when you start growing, setting boundaries, or changing the role you've been playing. Third, projection, envy, conflict avoidance, and social survival all shape how others react to you. Their behavior is often more about their inner world than your worth. Fourth, your self-awareness matters. It's powerful to ask, what patterns do I bring into relationships, without collapsing into shame? Finally, you are allowed to let people go who refuse honest conversation, who punish your growth, or who only liked you when you were small. Losing them may hurt, but losing yourself to keep them will cost more over time. If this video helped you understand why people suddenly turn against you, don't just click away and forget it. Take one small action. First, think of one relationship that still haunts you, where the shift felt sudden. Instead of spiraling in self-blame, write down 3 possible factors from this video that might have been at play. You don't need to send it to anyone. This is for your own clarity. Second, choose one way you'll show up differently going forward. Clearer boundaries, more direct communication, or simply refusing to chase people who consistently avoid honesty. If you want more content on emotional patterns, relationship psychology, and building healthier self-respect, subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss future deep dives. And in the comments, if you feel comfortable, share, without names, a situation where someone seemed to flip on you. You'll see how many people have lived the same story. You are not alone in this.